Hey guys, Harry Thomas here, back with my top 5 good but ultimately disappointing summer movies of 2016. And trust me, were plenty of disappointments this summer. But bearing in mind, I don't hate these films. They were good. There was good in them. It was just I found them a little underwhelming and felt like they had more potential. They didn't reach their highest high, and ultimately left you feeling well satisfied but a little underwhelmed at the same time. But of course, you're not all going to agree with me, but this is just my opinion, so please respect my opinion and I'll respect yours. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my least disappointment and work my way up to the most disappointment. So to kick off my list, the fifth most disappointing movie of the summer is none other than Warcraft. Now, bearing in mind, I said in my review I thought this movie was underrated and didn't deserve to be critically panned as it was, but at the same time it was a little underwhelming. It could have been a masterpiece. It could have been in the same league as The Lord of the Rings, the greatest fantasy movie trilogy of all time, and kind of wasn't, but it definitely had its merits. The orcs were great characters, the action scenes were awesome when they actually happened, and it was visually stunning, but just the pacing was terrible. The human characters were so weak and you couldn't care less about them in comparison to the orcs. And Duratang should have been the main character and main focus, not the main human guy who I don't even remember his name. That's how forgettable the human characters were. Not to mention this really awkward forced romance between the half human half orc girl. She was a good character, but that romance that she had with the humour so unnecessary and didn't lead anywhere. So Warcraft, a good movie, but fell short of its full potential. And animal lovers, get ready for my number 4 disappointing movie of the summer, The Secret Life of Pets. Now, I know what you're thinking. Harry, are you crazy? The Secret Life of Pets was awesome. Yeah, it was a good movie. It was so charming. They got the characteristics and mannerisms of animals down perfectly. And I know that, being a cat lover myself. And it looked gorgeous. It was a fun time, and the characters were a delight, but overall the story was just way too similar to Toy Story. It was so predictable, and you could pretty much predict where the relationship of Matt and Duke was going to go. It was pretty much the same as Woody and Buzz. And the finale of this film was a little rushed, I thought, and anticlimactic. It could have had a more emotionally engaging finale. It really could. So with a more original story, and if it took more risk, The Secret Life of Pets would have been a masterpiece in the same league as Toy Story. But it can't help feeling like a movie that's trying to be Toy Story but just isn't quite there. And like a dragon soaring down from the sky is my third most disappointing movie of the summer, Pete's Dragon. Now, I know what you're thinking, Harry, wasn't Pete's Dragon a great remake that improved over the boring, campy original in every aspect? Well, I'm afraid, guys, I'm not with the people who absolutely loved this film. I'm in the very minority, but I didn't think this movie was better or improved upon the original Pete's Dragon at all. Yeah, the original Pete's Dragon, it's campy, it's overlong, it's silly with too many songs, but I still love it, though they're not too much of a problem for me. I think it's a wonderful, enchanting, classic family Disney movie, and I can still watch it and love it today. At least it had an identity, whereas this film, as much as it got the relationship between Pete and Elliot right, as visually stunning as it is, Bryce Dallas Howard is even decent, but there's a good portion of the film where Pete and Elliot aren't interacting, which is kind of boring and really drags, and the villain completely forgettable and wasted, and just the film lacks an identity. It feels like a combination of The Jungle Book, Tarzan. It just doesn't feel like a Pete's Dragon film as much as the original did. So, and does every Disney remake have to be dark? The original Pete's Dragon, it was fun, and that's worked. That's what it needed to be. This film took itself way too seriously. So if you want a outstanding live action Disney remake that's even better than the original, I would recommend The Jungle Book way more than this. Jason Bourne fans, get ready to defend and give me all the hate comments as my number 4 disappointing movie of the summer, Jason Bourne. Now, Jason Bourne is not the worst movie in the Bourne franchise, at least it's better than the Bourne Legacy or whatever that was, but it should have been more. It should have been a great film. It could have been the best movie in this Bourne franchise and ended this franchise on the perfect note. It had Matt Damon reprising his role as the title character, which was awesome. Matt Damon kicked ass in this film. The action was fantastic, and he even had a good bond and friendship with the woman from his agency who came back to get him back in the game. But the story was just so predictable, so unengaging, and boring and lazily written. You could predict step by step what was going to happen. There was literally no surprises whatsoever, and the villains, oh, don't even remember them. There's nothing to talk about. So overall, Jason Bourne, it's just a decent action film, but it should have been more. It should have been a compelling, epic spy film, just like the Daniel Craig Bond films. Call me a James Bond fanboy, but we British love James Bond that much. And finally, the 5th most disappointing film of the summer, it pains me to say, is none other than, have you guessed it, BFG. Oh my gosh, talk about disappointing. This film should have been a masterpiece. This should have been one of the greatest movies of the year. It was directed by Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest filmmakers who has ever lived. It was written by the screenwriter of E.T., Melissa Matheson. It was made by Disney. It was Steven Spielberg adaptating one of the most beloved children's authors of all time, Roald Dahl. I was so hyped and so looking forward to it. And once I saw it, I felt it was good, but nothing like I thought it was going to be. I left out so underwhelmed and so disappointed. I mean, this is coming from a genuine fan of Roald Dahl and the book of the BFG, and I also loved the 1989 original animated movie. That was a perfect adaptation, but this film, it's not a patch on that. I mean, despite Mark Rylance being nothing short of brilliant and Ruby Barnhill being fantastic, it looks visually stunning. John Williams does a decent score. It's not his best score, but it's good enough. And Penelope Wilton delightful as the Queen. The film plays it too safe. It completely robbed the story of the dark elements of Roald Dahl's book, which is so disappointing. It will not resonate or engage kids and adults as much as it should because of this. There's little to nothing at stake in this movie. It robbed all the stakes of the book and the animated version. It made the giants completely unthreatening and just look like homeless people and uses them for fart jokes. And yeah, we never see giants eating children. We're just told instead of shown. Spielberg should know better than to show, don't tell. And the pacing of this film is terrible. Boy, does it drag on in most scenes. It did not need to be a 2-hour movie. This movie, given what little story the book has, should have only been an hour and a half. That's all the time you needed. And the finale of this film was so underwhelming, so anti-climactic. There was no tension when they captured the giants so easily without any sort of challenge, completely lacking the epicness and the emotional finale of the book and the animated version. And it ended way too quickly and abruptly. There really is a lack of resolution. And also, there's a subplot with where the BFG took a boy to giant country but got eaten by the giants, which is a nice idea, but it doesn't work because why would the BFG take Sophie back if him taking a kid back before failed? And we never see this boy, so it's hard to get to care as much as we should. and it's really a subplot that never sees resolution. So overall, the BFG, I wanted to love it, but in the end, I couldn't help feeling so disappointed, and I don't have much desire to see it again. So they were my five most good but disappointing movies of the summer, but of course, I love you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. And what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Whatever you thought was the most disappointing, please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter and on my Google Plus, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.